Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tyresha Monet, and as you can see we're in a different filming space. I'm not able to do my little rotation in the chair that I'm usually in. We're gonna move that piece of paper, that's not for this video. Anyway, today's video I will be ruining your childhood, if it hasn't already been ruined, by telling you the true stories behind all of, well not all, but a couple of, the fairy tales that people have grown to know and love. Some of these fairy tales I've seen, I've watched the movies, blah blah blah, and some of them I haven't, so let's get into it. So the first fairy tale or story folklore, whatever you want to call it, we're gonna start off with is Pinocchio. And I've actually never seen Pinocchio. I've never wanted to see it, but basically it's about a puppet who wants to be a real boy. He has his friend Jiminy Cricket, and they basically like conspire and try to figure out how to make him a real boy. The real Pinocchio story was made up by a guy named Carlo Collodi, Carlo Collodi. And the original, the OG Pinocchio was cruel and mischievous. The cricket that is known in the OG story, his name was just Talking Cricket. He didn't really have a name. But Pinocchio was so cruel that when Talking Cricket tried to give Pinocchio advice, he killed him by smashing him with the mallet. And so consequently, throughout the story, Pinocchio is tortured for his bad behavior. Collodi eventually ended the story of Pinocchio by having him hanged, but fans weren't too thrilled with that version, so he decided to add on to the story by saying, okay, Pinocchio can live, he just has to be tortured a whole bunch more. And that's pretty much the real version of Pinocchio, which that's pretty dark. I've never seen Pinocchio, so I can't say that it affects me, like the dude was hung, but yeah, I don't have much to say about Pinocchio. It's just never something that I wanted to see or was interested in. Moving on. Number 2 is Sleeping Beauty, which by far, this one angers me. Okay, this one is the most disturbing out of all of them, and we're only on number 2. Like, this one makes me sick to my stomach. I don't remember watching Sleeping Beauty that much as a kid. I know I've watched it several times, but after knowing the real story behind Sleeping Beauty, I will never watch it again, straight up. I'm just not gonna do it. And I don't remember it being that interesting now that I'm older. It's kind of boring. But anyway, the Disney version goes that this princess named Aurora is taken away from the castle that she was birthed in. Her father sent her away because this witch or whatever named Maleficent cast a spell on her when she was a baby. When she turned 16, she'll prick her finger on the spindle of a spinning wheel and fall into a death-like sleep until she's woken up by a true love's kiss, which she is in the Disney version, blah blah blah, they get married happily ever after, boom. None of the OG version though. The original version originated in 17th century Italy, and it revolved around a princess named Talia. Talia goes through the motion, she pricks her finger on the spindle of a spinning wheel, falls into the trance-like sleep, and then, I don't know, I guess the king of the land, comes across her, not her father by the way, because her father is a king, but the king comes across and sees her lying there all beautiful and gathers the fruit of her love, which in so many words means he raped her. He raped her in her sleep. 9 months later, she gives birth to twins, and one of the twins sucked the splinter from her finger that, she poked herself, and she woke up. And even though he raped her and impregnated her, Talia still manages to fall in love with the king, who happens to be married. He already has a queen. So the queen orders the twins to be kidnapped, cooked, and fed to the king as revenge. But luckily for them, that didn't end up happening. I guess they ended up living happily ever after, as much as you can live with a rapist as a husband. I hate that version so much. It's so disturbing. Like, they had issues back in the day. That's I have no words for that. Moving on, number 3, Cinderella. So Cinderella is basically about a girl who is mistreated by her stepmother and stepsister, and you know, she wishes upon the star, whatever. I don't think she wishes upon a star, but you know, she is granted, you know, she's got a fairy godmother, and the fairy godmother grants her, you know, this dress and these shoes, and she gets to go to the ball, which she wasn't allowed to go. She dances with the prince, falls in love with him after one friggin' dance, right? And then she leaves the shoe behind. She has to dip because she got to be home at a certain time because she knows she wasn't supposed to be there. And then the prince finds this shoe on the staircase and is like, I must search the entire land for the girl who wore this shoe, which is incredibly flawed as it is, because you wouldn't think old girl has the same shoe as the other girls in the kingdom. I guess not, they didn't. But anyway, he finds Cinderella, they live happily ever after, bada boom, bada bing. Not in the OG version. Well, in the OG version, yes, they do live happily after, they do live happily ever after, but you know, it's dark. It's the OG version. Basically, the story is consistent. However, it definitely goes astray is when the prince is visiting the maidens to see whose foot fits the shoe. When he came to the castle to fit Cinderella's stepsisters, they both cut off different parts of their feet in order to fit into the shoe. I think one stepsister, she cut off her toes, and another stepsister, she cut off the back of her heel to fit into the shoe. Dove swooped in and let the prince know that there was blood on the shoe so that he wouldn't be fooled, because I guess the prince is stupid enough not to realize that the girl's foot is bleeding. She's missing part of her foot in order to put on this shoe, but you know, the prince wasn't that bright. Okay, he wasn't that bright, obviously. At the end of the story, the stepsisters attended Cinderella's wedding only to have their eyes pecked out by the same doves that told on them before about them cutting off their feet. So the doves have no mercy for them. They're not the nicest. I feel like doves are supposed to like be angelic, so it's definitely like a paradox type thing. Fairy tale number 4 is The Little Mermaid. So The Little Mermaid is about a mermaid named Ariel, and she falls in love with old dude, what's his name, Eric, who is a prince. She ain't never talked to the dude before, yet she loves him. But she trades her voice to the sea witch Ursula in order to gain legs and go pursue him. Stuff happens, drama happens, they end up together, and she leaves her family to be a human. Not in the OG version though. That ain't what happened at all. This version was created by Hans Christian Andersen. In this version, Ariel does indeed make a deal with the sea witch to gain legs, but instead of giving up her voice, she has to give up her entire tongue. So also part of the deal is that every step she takes while she has her legs will feel like she's walking on broken glass, which is incredibly painful. I would never do that for a dude, ever, especially not one that I never talked to. Like, girl, it's a little thirsty in my opinion, just a little bit. By a little bit, I mean a lot of it. And so if she's able to make Eric fall in love with her, she's able to stay human, and they have to share, you know, true love's kiss, of course, because every fairy tale you gotta have true love's kiss. But she's gonna die. She gonna die if she doesn't get that kiss. Ariel, you know, saves him from a shipwreck in both the original, the original version and the Disney version. However, in the original version, Eric does not see Ariel's face, so he doesn't know what Ariel looks like, and therefore he does not fall in love with her. He ends up getting married to somebody else, actually. Of course, that makes the contract, you know, null and void, but the sea witch still gives Ariel the chance to become a mermaid again if she kills the prince. But Ariel punked out. She couldn't do it. She couldn't kill him. And so she throws herself into the ocean and becomes Seafawn. So she commits suicide. Which, either way, she was gonna die anyway. If I was her, I would've killed him. Sorry. But like, my life over yours, homeboy. You didn't even recognize me after I saved you from the ship? I should just let you drown. But Ariel and I are two different people. So, one is real and one isn't. And I'm the real one. It's me. Number 5 is The Hunchback of Notre Dame. And this is another movie that I have not seen. Again, I've kind of really had no interest in seeing it. You know, if it comes up, I'll probably turn from it. I don't see myself watching it in the near future. I know it's probably a classic, but I'm not interested. In the Disney version, there is a hunchback guy named Quasimodo, and he is raised by an archdeacon by the name of Frollo. Is it Frollo or Froyo? I'm gonna call him Frollo because I like how that sounds. It sounds better. But he's raised by Frollo. And Frollo and Quasimodo end up falling in love with the same woman named Esmeralda. And at the end of the story, Quasimodo ends up pushing Frollo off the top of the cathedral. I'm sorry. I sometimes I just feel like stopping in the middle and just be like, forget it. But I'm keep going. The OG version was made by Victor Hugo and in his story, Frollo framed Esmeralda for attempted murder, and she was sentenced to be hanged, which, I mean, I guess I've never read the original story, so I don't know why you would do that to somebody you're supposedly in love with, but she probably rejected him, because dudes don't take rejection well sometimes, and especially if she seems like she's digging old Quasi, or more than she's digging him, and he's got a hunchback, you know, he's not the best looking. No, he couldn't take the rejection. That's why he did that. I didn't even read the story, and I feel like that's what happened. In both the Disney version and the OG version, Quasimodo pushed Frollo off the roof of the cathedral. In the OG version, he pushed him off because Frollo was laughing about Esmeralda being hung. Quasi goes to Esmeralda's grave and refuses to leave her, eventually dying of starvation. Pretty dark. He kills himself because he can't bear to be away from her, which, you know, there's other fish in the sea, man. Quasi, you could have found somebody else. Might have took you a long time, but somebody was gonna love you. You didn't have to go starve yourself like that, or could have brought you some lettuce, you know, get you some seeds. I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, and the last fairy tale I'm gonna touch on, number 6, is Snow White. So in the Disney version, Snow White runs away from home because they're either stepmother is trying to kill her, which I don't know what it is with Disney stepmothers, like, they are not to be trusted. But eventually her stepmom finds her and poisons her with an apple. She falls into a death-like sleep and can only be woken up by true love's kiss, of course. Prince comes along, kisses her, they get married happily ever after. Which, like, the princes in these stories, like, are they out searching for women to kiss? Like, I don't get it. How do they just keep stumbling upon these women in deep sleeps? Who thought of this? Like, who just, I don't know. But in the OG version that was made by the Grimm brothers, or the Brothers Grimm, I've seen it both ways. The evil queen attempts to kill Snow White several times, but isn't successful. Then she poisons her with the apple. That stays true in the OG and the Disney version. The prince comes along, kisses her, just like in the OG version. However, the stepmother attends the wedding in the OG version. As punishment for attempting to kill her stepdaughter, she has to dance around in hot iron shoes, burning her feet until she dies. So, what a way to die. Snow White got revenge, which, you know, I don't commend violence, but I commend that. Like, girl, you tried to kill me several times, dancing in hot iron shoes until you die. That is all the fairy tales that I'm going to cover in today's video. If I find any more, and if you guys like this video, I'll try to see if I can find any more fairy tales. So if you have a couple that I haven't talked about and you want to see, just let me know, because I'ma read them. I'll see you guys next time. Hope you enjoyed the video. Peace, love, and biscuits. Okay, bye.